Yeah, it's about time to go to bed here. It's March 25th. I'm just doing this for the 10-second Carrera Animation challenge. I just threw this together real quick because I wanted to do something simple to show a few things off here. And what I've done is I just loaded in a background map scene. I just to be quick, I just took this one out of Badlands. It's the base 1 example, and if I click on scene here, I'll notice that there's a 16,000 by 8,000 pixel background map which shows up in the render. You don't see it in the scene here, but so I picked this one that's Badlands Clouds Bright. And basically what I wanted to do is take this steam dragon. I'll zoom in here. This is a steam dragon, and I wanted to animate it in flight. And so I at first I put a spin modifier on each of the propellers. Let's see, modifiers here, and just 2.5 rotations per second. And when I was doing playback, and you should be able to see it rotate, when I tried cranking it up, I wasn't quite sure where to go. I'd have to do some experimenting on where to get just the right spin rotation on here to where it's not just looking like it's sitting still. But this particular model has this extra mesh here, and what it actually is it makes it look like the propellers are spinning. So if I turn these off, it's like a motion blur object is what it is. Okay, so anyway, I made that visible, and you do that just by making it visible in here. By default, when you load it, here's the steam dragon. When you load that thing in, that's off by default. So you just select the propellers R right here and turn in the visibility on, and then if you want, you just turn these off, and then you don't have to have a spin modifier on. But I have a spin modifier on those, and I have this one enabled. So that's it for the steam dragon. Oh, except for the fact that this model also comes with some cool stuff, but I tweaked out the shaders a bit. I made my own glass shaders, and then I put some bump map on here and did a little bit of playing around. And then for the lights, I gave them glow, and then I put an aura effect on the glow, and I multiplied the glow times a few hundred just to make them stand out in this bright daylight setting. So, but then pretty much I left all of the lighting for this scene at default. This is a pre-lit scene, but lighting for something this simple would be very easy to do. Basically all you're doing is lighting the steam dragon how you want it, because everything else is just a background map. Oh, except that this base scene also has ground fog on it, and this small base of ground to it, and I probably could have just gotten rid of this terrain, but the ground fog I left on, and I changed it a bit. Well, actually I left it just the way it is. I just here we go. I just brought it up higher to and right here, if you can see my mouse here, which is pretty close to the arrows here, that's where my scene is taking place. That's where the camera is. But this is the cloud, which is normally down in here somewhere. And because it's just a ground haze, I just want, for the ground haze, I just want just that top of the cloud to peek through the ground and make some fog. But I'll just undo that, and that just gives us almost the same kind of effect, except it's a little bit higher on my scene than what I normally have it as a ground fog. Okay, now I'm just going to select this group here and zero in on that again. And how I set up this group is I brought in the dragon, the Steam Dragon, and then the way I set up my browser here, I get kind of crazy over here with my browser. If you look in the My Objects category here, I create my own hierarchy of things, and so it's really easy for me to just go to people, scroll down to NPCs, and then I went to townsfolk, and that brings me with this little selection here, and these guys are just basically already optimized for Carrera. And I have a whole lot of others, but these I knew were the low-res figures from Predatron, and I had them all pretty much set up. So I took this guy with the t-shirt and the baseball cap, and the Steam Dragon comes with poses, and all I had to do is load this guy into the browser and double click on pose for pilot, and bam, he snapped right into the pilot seat, and now he's flying the Steam Dragon. The suit in the pedestrian in suit number 1 is one of the passengers, and I think it's number 2. Yeah, pedestrian in suit 2 is another passenger, and so I have those 3 figures that I dragged into the scene and just clicked on some poses that came right with this thing, and they snapped right into the seats where they belong. But I didn't like where the 2 business suit guys were, so I moved them around to where I wanted them in here. I wanted them down below, leave the pilot all by himself, and so there you can see those 2 guys there, and here's the cool pilot up here, and these are low-res figures by Predatron, and they are excellent. I mean, they come with a whole slew of morphs to change them into entirely different people, even orcs and muscular dudes, zombies. I think there's elf and dwarf and goblin. There's a lot of different things that they can be. So I collect all of these Predatron low-res figures. They're really good. They also have their speech morphs and all that kind of neat stuff. But lo and behold, and I can't believe that I did this. This never happens to me. I'll forget everything else, but I forgot to animate these guys. So they're just kind of sitting there. They're not the focal point of this anyway, but still, I almost never ever would put somebody in a vehicle and then animate the vehicle and forget to animate the people inside. It's just not something I do. Anyway, I wanted to keep this short because it's bedtime. I'm late already. So back to my group here. This is the group, so I'm going to zero with that. Now, how I made this whole thing work now is, for a change, I actually made the camera show up. I quite often do not do that. I usually deselect show object in 3D view to make it disappear so it's never in my way, because I like to often set my director's camera at the same thing as the filming camera, and I don't like having the icon in my way when I zoom in and out on stuff. So that's why I do that. And now what I did with this group is, you can see that I set the hot point right near the camera. I didn't do anything precise. I just dragged it in there pretty close to where the camera is, and then I took the whole group and I put a 0.07 per second spin modifier on it and the Z-axis, That's another thing about propellers. If you put the modifier on and it breaks the model, just click back to the very beginning of your timeline and select the correct axis. And if you want to know which axis you need to select here, this is really simple. Look at your object while in the rotation mode, and if you need it to turn along the green mark, you know by looking over here in the far left corner down on the bottom, you see this little icon here, and so you just look at green and you see that it's the y-axis. Or if you need it to spin along this red one, you know that you need to select X up here in the right. And otherwise, if you need it to spin around horizontally like that, you need to select the vertical Z-axis. And we wanted to spin along the Z-axis, not the camera, the whole group. Okay, so what that looks like from above, let's just select this guy and rotate like this, and then click 0 to get way out here. But now we want to see the group. We'll select the group. Maybe we should 0 on that instead. Yeah, zoom in a little bit more. And now I'm going to zoom out, and let's play this bad boy, and I'll show you what it does. And there we go. It's just 0.07 per second. I could really get a lot more action going on per second if I upped this number just a little bit. Makes it a lot faster. But so what we have here are two rotating props rotating at the same speed with an object in there that automatically gives me a during render motion blur, and they're rotating on their axis. And in order to make sure that the pilot and passengers are still inside the machine, I need to make sure that they are all grouped together in one way or another. I could just drag them into the dragon. I could parent them to the dragon by grabbing them and just dragging them onto the dragon. But I almost never do that. I will instead select everything and then type Control G, which will create a group around it. Now I wanted to do something else. I wanted to give this a little bit more lighting than what I normally give things in this particular base scene. So I took this group and I dragged it up here into what the kit comes with as what's called the focus group. Add your main objects here. I just took my group, dragged it into there. I could have just grabbed the camera right along with it, but instead I just grabbed the steam dragon and the people that are inside of it, and I typed Control G again to get this second group, and then dragged that group into the focus group, and which was outside of the group, and then I dragged that into this group. Okay, so now I have this this instructions. These are the instructions that I'm talking about. The lighting rig, the focal point lighting rig, and if I zero in on that, what you see are these 4 yellowish pods here. Those are the lights, and I just have a fairly low little sky accent, giving a little bit more sky blue onto the plane itself at only 35%, but it's casting shadows. So it's giving me the opportunity to paint with shadows from whatever angle I want it to be. Okay, and then for my rim light, I have this back backlight accent, and you know, you can see instead of just using it as a rim light, I'm using it as a very strong accent coming in. Instead of normally a rim light, I would do something more like this, or like this, where it's pointing right at me pretty much. And what it's supposed to do is just add a light silhouette, kind of like a silver lining around but very, very tiny, just a little bit, just to make it stand out from whatever's behind it. And then there's some low power ambient helpers here, and normally I keep this way down but at 4 or something like that, because they're not casting any shadows. But for this, I just cranked them up just a little bit to really make the thing stand out a little bit. And okay, so basically I showed you what I did. I showed you that I have this thing rotating around, right? A spin modifier, and it has a background map, and I have that stuff animating. Oh, and then I took this group 2, and along the sequencer I added little bits of motion in it just to break it up. I actually held the the Alt key and dragged the default keyframe out to the 1 second frame place, just to hold it. So now I have this full 1 second where it's not moving at all. It's locked into place by a linear tweener between 2 identical keyframes. But that's on the camera itself. Okay, I actually wanted to look at group 2, right? There we go. Okay, so right now the plane isn't doing anything, and I made it longer than 1 second before it does anything. And then let's instead look at it through the camera itself. And then at 3 seconds, I applied this rotation to it, and then counter rotation to that, instead of going straight back to the default. And then I held the Alt key again and copied this original unchanged keyframe over to 6 to bring it back again, to make at least the animation loopable. But as it turns out, my 0.07 per rotation doesn't even make it close to making it one full resolution. I didn't want to make it quite that fast, but at least if I wanted to reuse this, but you wouldn't want to play this over and over again anyway. You would just constantly be doing the same motion, and it's not really much motion, as you'll see when it's done anyway. But another thing I wanted to show you is that I didn't exactly want the craziness of having these being Bezier. So I left them at linear. I've changed my preferences to keep this always at linear, and I can you'll see that on this one I did, which is the first change, I have a 14% ease in on the curve. You can see on this graph up here there's this tiny little, I can change that for you. As you drag this up, you see what it's doing to this graph up here? It's smoothing out the motion. Otherwise, if you have it at 0 and 0, it's going to go directly from this pose here to this pose here with absolutely no I'm sorry, from this pose here to this pose here with absolutely no change. Okay, no, I was right. It was over here, and but I don't remember what that was at. I can just hit undo a couple of times. Maybe that worked, maybe it didn't. No, it didn't change it. That's alright. Maybe that doesn't, maybe that's not undoable. Oh yeah, undo change tweener. Undo change tweener. So I just had more stuff in there than I'm not gonna save this anyway, so it doesn't matter. I already have this saved. I'm not gonna save it again after this little demonstration. But just to show you that on this one I did an ease in, but no ease out, as it goes back to the default. Okay, so keep this in mind, is that just because it's a linear tweener doesn't mean that you're stuck at solid linearity. You can like this one, the first time I set this one up, I actually dragged the ease in way up here. Oh, wait a minute. No, that's different. That's on this Film Cam 2, which I haven't rendered yet. This tweener here. Yeah, see, it has, oh, it doesn't have much. Which one is it? This one. It has a 59% ease in, and then just 9% taken off the back at that 91% there. So going between this camera angle and this camera angle, I have this swoop onto the linear, making it pretty similar to a Bezier, but not quite. So we'll show you the difference here. We'll just quick give a little play through, and because of this slowness here, you're not seeing much change at all, and then pretty soon there, see how it's starting to ease into it, and I'm hoping that what it's going to do is give a nice rolling motion to the camera as we see this plane change positions in its bank while the camera stays dead solid. That's not like me either. There again, I was in a hurry, and now I'm finally done with it, but it's past my bedtime. And I have a meeting tomorrow morning, so I'm disobeying myself by doing this right now. But anyway, as you can see, it's giving that nice bit of change to it. And there again, I'm no expert at this stuff. I do have a lot of practice at it, but so I do what I do, but I have no education. What I know about this stuff, I found out myself through either trial and error, asking questions, or being told by others on the forum, reading books and stuff like that. Completely self-taught, but I've been at it for a few years and I'm having fun. Like I say, normally these guys would either be talking to each other, or this guy would now be kind of freaking out a little bit, maybe looking out the window, or maybe they're totally used to this kind of thing and maybe they're still reading their papers or whatever. But this is so rare, even if I'm in a hurry, to not have their mouths changing shape a little bit, like going from just flat to maybe a little bit pursed or whatever. Very unlike me to not have all three of these guys animated in some way, shape, or form. So anyway, now I take this thing and I rendered it out at just film camera 1. I still have my batch queue set up to render this one out, but I wanted to quick do this screen capture to show you guys. And so let's go to this and full screen it and show you what the animation turned out like. And so there's that. Not the best thing in the world, but for a quick little 7-second trial kind of thing, it's not that bad. I don't like how perfectly smooth it is when it is smooth, but so I'll probably do some work on that. And then there's zero camera movement on this one, and that's rare for me too. I basically just wanted to show this off, and the next film camera 2 should clear that up for you.